Kristen. Hello, who are you, ma'am? Welcome back. I'm on a roll with these Netgalley spotlights. So the next one I have is coming out this coming Tuesday, June 18th. It is The Next Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. I read the first one of these earlier this year, which was The Last Mrs. Parrish. I know, very similar names. There's only one word different. I know. And when I read the first one earlier this year, 6 stars. Like, it's a top 10 book of 2024, and that I read in maybe April or May. No, not April or May. I read that in maybe March or early April, so we started out the year pretty strong where I knew this book. I just know it's going to be, at the end of the year, it's going to be in a video because, like, I loved it so much. It was twisty and turny. And so, literally, as I was finishing that book, I was on Netgalley, and I found out the sequel. I had no clue the sequel was even planned. The sequel popped up on my Netgalley, like, dashboard, and I was, like, almost screamed. I was like, I need this arc. I absolutely need it so much. So I requested it. And at this is shortly when I began my Netgalley account, so I really wasn't expecting to be approved because, like, I had like a 10% ratio because, like, literally I had only, like, at the time I'd only reviewed one book and I had a few that I had yet to read and review. So I wasn't expecting anything at all. But guys, I found out that I was approved for this and I literally screamed. My neighbors probably thought I was being murdered. It's fine. I was so excited that I got this arc, like, and I've been waiting to read it, and, like, it just hasn't fit anything, and then I was like, it's June, I need to read it, and it fit the first prompt for the Amazing Readathon, so I read it in less than, like, 36 hours. So let's get into the synopsis here first. Daphne and Amber Parrish are thrust back into each other's lives upon the resurgence of a long-forgotten threat, forcing a vicious game of cat and mouse where everything is on the line. In this thrilling sequel to the million-copy best-selling Reese's Book Club pick, The Last Mrs. Parrish. Amber Patterson Parrish has come a long way from being an invisible wallflower. Her hard work and immaculate planning have paid off now that she's a prominent socialite, but that doesn't mean there haven't been bumps along the way. Less than a year since her husband Jackson's tax evasion scandal, Amber is still at the top of the Bishop's Harbor community pecking order, free to do as she wishes while Jackson sits in prison. But that freedom is quickly coming to an end. With Jackson getting released from prison, Amber's time and money is vanishing. Meanwhile, Daphne Parrish left Bishop's Harbor after her divorce from Jackson Parrish, swearing she would never go back. But when one of her daughters runs away from home, desperate to see her father, Daphne agrees to return for the summer to allow him supervised visits. Once out of prison, Jackson swears he's a changed man, but Daphne knows all too well he can't be trusted. When a ghost from Amber's past emerges looking for revenge, the three of them find unlikely allies in one another, but who is playing who? When all is said and done, they'll have to fight tooth and nail for everything they have left in this zero-sum game. It was amazing. And rating here, 4.5 stars. I can't help myself. I just have to reveal my rating right now. It is 4.5 stars. I loved this book. Wasn't quite as strong as book 1, but still, 4.5 is very solid, guys. We have to admit that. I just want to say though, so thank you so much to Netgalley and Random House Publishing Group for giving me this e-arc because, like I said, I loved the first one. And this one plays off in a very similar manner. We do jump about a year in time because at the end of the first book, like the synopsis says, Jackson is put in prison for tax evasion. Not surprising, you know, kind of with the house I had. It really wasn't surprising that he was not paying his taxes. It was dark, tense, emotional. So I for sure would check the trigger warning before reading either of these books, either the first one or the second one, because sexual assault, domestic violence, emotional abuse, physical abuse, gaslighting, there's a whole slew of trigger warnings, which on Storygraph the trigger warnings are pretty well, like, put in there, so I would for sure go check the trigger warnings for these books. But in this one we follow, like I said, our Kaffners Daphne and Amber, who are not friends anymore. They were friends in the first book. They are not friends anymore. And we get this new point of view, Daisy Ann. And side note here, this entire book I had to keep going, what's her name? Because I knew it was Daisy, but I couldn't remember the second part of her name, because every single time I thought of it, I thought Daisy May. And do y'all know who Daisy May is? It's the turnip girl from Animal Crossing New Horizons. This girl right over here. That's what I kept picturing, and I'm like, that is not her name. That is not my fault on this. It was just my brain was just like, Daisy May. And it is not Daisy May. It is Daisy Ann, guys. Literally, to the last chapter, she was the POV of. I was still, like, trying to convince myself that her name was Daisy Ann. Like, because I was just like, it's Daisy May. And I had to look up before I wrote my review for Netgalley, because I was like, it is for sure not Daisy May. That is a digression there. But we kind of pick up with weaving more of Amber's history. So in this one, we kind of pick up with weaving more of Amber's history. We know a little bit of Amber's past. We know she had a kid. We know she is wanted. We know she's not who she says she is, but we don't know the whole of it. And it kind of weaves together, and we also get like another side story of her past. Like, I thought it was just, you know, the stuff and where she's from that we're looking for. No, apparently she was also investigated for murder at one point, so there's that. That's a whole another thing. But you know what? We also find out she's always been a gold digger, and like, that's not surprising. Like, and not at all surprising with her attitude. Like, she is a gold digger, you know? And we follow the aftermath of Jackson's tax evasion, where her husband's in prison. She doesn't have a job, but she just keeps like spending money. Like, her husband's gonna be bringing money home, and like, girl, he's in prison. His business is gone. Like, how you living in this multi-million-dollar house and buying these $1,000 dresses and whatever, and girl goes through like millions like that, which almost made it laughable when she was like, I'm gonna have $14 million and I can live like how I want for the rest of my life. No, girl, you cannot. Not with the way you be spending money. My God. We go into the aftermath of the deception, because, you know, and like, if you've read book one, a little bit of spoilers, but Amber tricks Jackson into marrying him. But like, does she really? Because Daphne kind of tricks Amber into seducing Jackson. It's a lovely little triangle, and I would really recommend you read the book, because damn. But this book doesn't hide the deception as much, and I feel like that's because we switch point of views more. So like, in the first book, there was like a section where we just had Amber's point of view, and like, it was Amber's point of view for like the first 40% of the book, and then we went into Daphne's point of view, so we could see how that all weaved together. This one, it like switches point of views every chapter, which I do like in books when we get mixed point of views. But this one doesn't hide the deception as much, because we're switching point of view every chapter, as opposed to just having a huge chunk in one person's point of view, and then, you know, we find out later what it is. And then we all know Jackson's MO at this point. If you read book one, you know Jackson's MO. This motherfucker has not changed, okay? Like, he gonna say he did, but he did not. He's manipulative, deceptive, and abusive, okay? You know, as we find out, Amber is a stuck-up bitch, like, straight up. It is not at all surprising. I was very surprised, though, by Daisy Ann's introduction, because there is no mention of a Daisy Ann at all in the past. She kind of just, like, pops up when you get to, like, chapter 3. Like, it's just her point of view, and I'm like, who this girl? And it's still not explained when she's introduced. Like, she's going to, like, her life, and her with her husband Mason, and she has 2 boys, and they're in Texas. I'm like, Texas and Connecticut are not near each other. What is this? Question. Hello, who are you, ma'am? But this runs deeper than I originally thought. So it's introduced, this is how Daisy Ann is related to, like, with Amber and Jackson. It's kind of like all related, except for that runs much, much deeper. So I'm not gonna spoil it by saying what it is, but like, the first reason they give you is not how they're connected. It is a giant spider web, let me tell you, and like, I was not expecting it, but like, I'm here for it, girl. I was very, this book sucked me in so much that, like, I was up until 2 a.m. reading it. Even after I ended my own sprints, I was like, I'm just gonna finish the chapter, and then that chapter turned into, let me read 6 more chapters. Like, I was so in it till the very last page. And I just want to say, I loved Daphne's courage. If you're the first book, she put up with this man for years. And I think we really have to admire her courage for standing up for herself, even when she is seemingly going along with Jackson's plan. She is doing the best she can for her girls. And I think we have to admire that she was doing whatever it could take to keep those girls safe and not let them alone with their father, while also planning her escape to get her and the girls away from him again. It took her so long to get away from him in the first place, and you have to admire how her dedication is to getting those girls away, even knowing there was a warrant out for her arrest, for her federal arrest, because she kidnapped the girls, which, I mean, technically, in all technicality, she did kidnap them, but it's because they did not have the full story. The cops do not know about Jackson's past here, and he had temporary custody, but I don't feel like we should have gave him temporary custody because he exterminated his parental rights at the end of book 1. Like, girl, I don't think you can get temporary custody. Now, you know, you got rid of your rods. Go give them to their grandmother. But that's just me, okay? And last point, I think we really have to admire that in this book, it is brought very clear into the front that Jackson Jr. is not at fault. In this book, he's not even 2. Like, he may be 2. He has no idea what his parents really are, who they really are. And he is completely innocent in everything. And I really just have to admire how they acknowledge that Jackson Jr. is innocent and that he shouldn't be hated, and that Daphne still wants Jackson Jr. to come around the girls and like have that brother-sister relationship, and that she is willing to work with Jackson's guardians to have, so that they can have that relationship, and that Jackson Jr. isn't just like shipped off. I really have to admire that he's not isolated from his biological siblings because of his parents' actions. I really just have to admire that, having personal connections myself, like experiencing that, not myself personally, but like experiencing it with my family. And I really have to admire that point is brought up clearly several times throughout the book. Jackson Jr. is innocent. It is not his fault. We still have to love and take care of him. And I just really appreciated that. All of this being said, again, 4.5 stars. Can't wait till this book comes out so that I can have a physical copy on my shelf.